Hello and welcome back to the Barbarian Philosopher podcast. I'm your host, Jerome Acevedo, here with my co-host, Leron Kavon. And this is episode 12. What's going on with you, brother?
What's going on, Jerome? Everything good?
Everything is very good. Staying busy, working, doing all that good stuff.
Nice.
We were talking just now. We're up to now 51 subscribers.
Woohoo!
We're halfway to our first milestone. Thank you to everybody who's subscribed so far and, takes the time to watch and comment. We appreciate y'all. That said, let's get right into it. One of the things that's happened recently that I found very interesting was there was a confrontation between Chris Cyborg and a chick named Angela Magana. I've never heard of this chick before, the Magana chick. And the long story short of it is Magana has been poking fun of Cyborg on Twitter. Cyborg disapproves of this. They met up, they bumped heads at a retreat, a UFC athletes retreat. Cyborg gets in Magana's face and is like, fuck you, you're being disrespectful, woo wop bam. Magana chick is yapping back, like, I'll say what I want, I do what I want. Cyborg pops her in the mouth. Shortly thereafter, charges are pressed against Christina Cyborg. One of the things that came up in this little fiasco is that Cyborg is saying she was being cyberbullied by...
Cyborg was saying that?
Yes, Cyborg was saying, well, this happened because I'm being bullied by this Angela Magana.
That was like her legal case.
That was her legal case, and that was just like her complaint.
Okay.
Just, like, why were you there confronting her? Well, she'd been fucking with me. She'd been bullying me online, and I went to confront her, and then things escalated. I haven't been following the Tough series lately, but apparently there have been some people who are writing articles that TJ Dillashaw has been getting bullied by the Gambrandt team. And I find it very...
Specifically TJ or the whole team?
No, specifically TJ.
Okay.
And I just find it very bizarre to apply like the word bullying to professional fight, not like the highest level of professional fighters.
Especially to complain about it too.
Yeah, it's very weird.
Very weird. I mean, if anyone can rise above bullying, it should be a fighter. Like, if you are any type of role model whatsoever, and you're famous and you're getting paid hundreds of thousands of millions or whatever a year, if you are any type of role model, you could at least be a role model for not being bullied.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Or not complaining about being bullied. Like, if anyone can rise above it, it should be you. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of embarrassing, really.
Yeah.
It's embarrassing for a fighter to be saying that they're getting bullied.
It's... Okay.
With Cyborg, I kind of understand it because I think she's just saying it legally so she doesn't get in hot water. That's just her story.
Okay.
But the Dillashaw, I mean, I don't know who's saying it. I don't know if it's Dillashaw
I don't
himself.
think it's Dillashaw. I haven't followed the series, but the one or two articles I saw on it was more like the author of the article commentating.
Well, I mean, look, that's the fight game. I mean, look at what Conor does to everyone. He's the biggest bully on the block, but that's you're a fighter. You know what I'm saying? You have to be able to deal with a mental warfare. And bullying is a tactic that fighters use to intimidate and get the better of each other.
True. Let me play devil's advocate here.
Yeah,
I don't necessarily agree with this, but I'm playing devil's advocate. I want to hear what you said.
I like devil's advocate.
So, I feel like someone could make the argument, well, yes, person A who's complaining about being bullied is a fighter, but person B is also a fighter, which takes away the fighter's advantage. They're on even playing field.
Yeah.
So if a non-fighter and a non-fighter who are on even playing field can bully each other, then why can't a fighter and a fighter who are both on even playing field bully each other?
Well, once you become a fighter and you've said that, look, I'm walking the path of violence, then you just lose your card. It doesn't matter who the fuck's bullying you. You just lose your card. If it's some gangsters or something saying there's a limit. If there's some gangsters saying they're gonna kill his wife or abduct his kids, that's a different type of bullying, but that's not what we're talking about, I guess there's a line, I don't know exactly the detail. Obviously, until you know all the details, you can't give a real opinion. But I mean, there's a limit, and I doubt that Team Barbarian have crossed it.
Mm-hmm.
And if someone's poking, like for example, what was her name, Morgana?
Mm-hmm.
I really doubt she crossed the line of bullying either. She talked shit.
Right.
She talked shit, and when Cyborg saw her, she punched her in the face. She punched her real hard and put her in hospital, I think. Right?
I think so, yeah.
And that has nothing to do with bullying. That's just to do with honor. It's just to do with the fact that I am not going to wait until I get you in the ring and do it 100% kosher. I'm just going to punch you in the face because I don't like you talking shit about me. I don't like what you said.
Mm-hmm.
And then Cyborg has to take the consequences of that, legal ramifications. You just have to take it. You chose to hit that chick in the face, you just got to take it. And the other chick, Morgana, has to take the consequences of her reputation being destroyed by the fact that she's a whiny ass bitch complaining about being punched in the face.
Well, to that point, I believe it's Team Alliance, Brandon Vera's gym. They kicked her out of the gym over this incident.
Hell yeah.
And I'm down with it. You know,
she didn't hit her with a brick. She punched her in the face.
Yeah, this is what you do. Like you guys fight each other, and I think we're in a situation where culturally you get brownie points for being a victim.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Whatever the victimhood du jour happens to be, if you can claim I've been hurt or I've been victimized by X, Y, and Z, you get almost like a social status boost. And I find it very, even outside of the fighters thing, like an adult saying I'm being bullied is very weird.
Microaggressions at work.
Yeah, like that's it just seems, all of that seems so childish. And
I think I'm with you, and I think that people need to understand that the key to not being bullied is not, and this is me being a bit more enlightened than I was 5 minutes ago, but the key to not being bullied does not lie with the bully. The power does not lie with the bully. If you say I'm a victim and he's a bully, then you're giving all your power away.
Yeah.
If someone's physically attacking you or whatever and you're not a fighter and you're not into it, then absolutely complain all you want. But to say that someone's bullying you, all the baggage that comes with that, it comes with a victim mentality, and you're really the one that's fueling that in most cases.
Yeah.
Now I know, like I think bullying is horrible. I don't like bullying. I don't like it when it happens to kids. I don't like the idea of bullying people. When you see people being bullied, it's not pleasant. Mm-hmm. So I do have some sympathy with people who are genuinely being bullied, but complaining about it, the flip side is complaining about it just empowers the bully,
right,
quotation marks, and makes you more of a victim. And that's not how you solve bullying. You have all these programs in schools and even in the workplace, anti-bullying programs and stuff, and people have got it all reversed. You're not going to stop bullying by slapping people on the wrist. You're going to stop bullying by realizing the role that you play in being the victim of the bully.
Well, there was an interesting study done quite a while back that I read about, where basically they took a bunch of predatory criminals. So these are people like strong arm robberies, rapists, random assaults, things like that while they're in
high
jail.
level bullies.
Yeah, people who have they see somebody, that's going to be my victim,
right,
and they go out and they pursue them, right? They're in jail, and what they did is they took a camera, they set it on the street, across the street from where they were recording, and they just videotaped random people walking down the street. Let's say they got 100 people, whatever the number is.
Yeah.
And they went to these different criminals and they showed them a video of each person walking down the street, and they would ask them, would this person be a victim, would they not? And the person was like, yes, I would, let's say rob, or whatever the thing that they were doing was, I would go after this person. No, I would not go after that person. And what they found is oftentimes it had very little to do with sex or size. It had much more to do with what the person communicated about where they were mentally. So there are things like bad posture, slouching, looking down, not being aware, having headphones in, reading the newspaper, looking like they were drunk or not able to not athletically capable to do what they needed to do. But a lot of it had to do with, did they look like they would fight back? Like, even if I could take them.
So you're saying that someone would rather rob a guy, like a young 28-year-old man who just seemed nervous and shy, or whatever, just had like kind of weak demeanor, than a 70-year-old lady who was sharp and kind of on the button and had this kind of energy about her?
More or less. I mean, I'm sure there's some variance, but basically, yeah, they said, like, and they would ask them, like, well, why this person? Well, why that person? And oftentimes it boiled down to they look like they'll give in.
Yeah.
Even like some of them were small women. It's like, she looks like she's gonna scream. She's gonna fight. She's gonna try to scratch my
find
face.
a way out. Yeah.
I could beat her down and like do what I want, but she's just gonna call attention. That big guy, he just looks shy and scared and lost. And if I punch him one time, he's gonna fold.
Yeah. Not even after 10.
And so a lot of times, and this is not, what am I saying? This doesn't take blame or fault away from the person perpetrating the crime or who's doing the bullying or what have you. But a lot of times you're putting a signal out there. They're choosing you for a reason.
Yeah.
And like you said, one of the things that it is when somebody messes with you and you immediately turn to, oh no, this is so horrible, and you start folding emotionally. Well, then they hone in on it. It's kind of like what we were talking about last time with the Daniel Cormier thing. And I'm more lenient and understanding when it's with children, because as a child you don't necessarily have the coping mechanisms learned to deal with that. That's part of being a child and growing up, is learning how to deal with somebody fucking with you, learning how to socialize and how to stand your ground and all of that. But once you're an adult and someone talks shit, like, it's talking shit. Either A, you're gonna deal with it personally, like, hey, fuck you, don't,
if it's really bothering you.
Do we have a problem here? Or B, you brush it off. I'm like, oh, this guy's a douche. That's what douches do. On with my life.
Just don't take it personally.
But you can't take it
really
personally.
For me, when I think about it, it's like, look, you got to draw the line. It's like, is this person physically threatening you? Is he whatever? Is this person an actual threat, or is it just a threat to your ego?
Right.
If it's just a threat to your ego and you can live without your ego, then just ignore them. But if it's a real threat, physical or financial or even emotional, like if someone's close to you and you have to see them, there's all different types of abuse and bullying. But if it's something that you can really live with, then live with it. And if it isn't, then you draw the line. You got to make a very clear cut thing. It's that grey area. That's what gets people bullied. It's that grey area of like, maybe if I just
and that's not to say like, look, well, if you're being harassed, and I like harassed more than bullying when you're talking about adults.
It takes a lot of the kind of baggage out of it.
If you're being harassed, that's not to say, well, you just have to deal with it. If somebody is harassing me at my job, I can go to my employer and say, hey, look, this is what's going on. This is not acceptable. This needs to change. That doesn't have the same victim mentality, victim vibe as please help me. Like, draw the line, deal with it by whatever way is necessary. But I don't like the term bullied being so freely thrown around amongst adults, and especially amongst adults who make fighting and violence their lives.
Dude, look, get the fuck out of here. You cannot complain. You're a fighter. You can't complain about bullying. But I mean, something that I've started to see as I've grown older, and I was talking about this with a friend today. Your subconscious mind, your energy, there's an invisible thing, that really runs your life. So if you find yourself, being bullied, being harassed, especially if there's a pattern and it keeps continuing, you really have to look inside to see why that's going on. That's where it's at. That I can tell people with certainty is like, whatever you see on the outside is a reflection on the inside. So if you find yourself in some situation where you're being bullied or harassed or whatever, then there's a reason on the inside why that's happening on the outside. Because if it was really unacceptable, you'd nip it in the bud.
Right.
You know, if it really didn't jive with who you were to be bullied, it wouldn't happen.
Right.
You know, and it might be that situation is there for you to learn that lesson of drawing the line. Maybe, you know, Ralph Waldo Emerson said, do the thing and you'll have the power. But if you don't do the thing, you won't have the power. It might be that you just have to do it one time.
Right.
And it's gone forever. You know, you just have to say no, one time, and it's gone. But if who you are is a victim, you know, you can become a fighter. For example, you can train and become a fighter and become a champion. And if that's still on the inside, then you're still going to get bullied.
Right.
You're still going to get harassed because that's, you know, who you are on the inside. So I don't think there's any accidents. You know, everything's there for a reason. If TJ Dillashaw is still being bullied, or if he thinks he's still being bullied, then he has to get rid of his own victim mentality, and likewise for everyone else.
I like the way you phrase that, actually. I'm a big fan of Adam Carolla and his podcast, and one of the things he talks about growing up was what we would now consider bullying was common, like, roughhouse play amongst dudes as kids. So he tells stories about, like, friends, like, pissing on each other, or, like, shitting in their hand and smacking the other one in the head. Or
That's
like,
very strong. That's like, very strong.
Now, I'm in no way saying this is a good thing, but the point he makes is I never thought I was bullied. Yeah. I just thought, like, this is... Yeah. He's a dick, and but now I have to get him back. This is how we jive with each other. Whereas all the kids growing up, he would say, that felt like who got bullied, like people actually picked them out with malice.
Yeah,
were the people who took everything as, this is a personal attack on me. Yeah. I'm being victimized by this,
and maybe in some way I deserve this.
Right.
On some deep level, you might not even think about it. But maybe. Yeah, this seems like, you know.
Well, I definitely think a lot of times the family dynamic gets carried out into the world.
100%. The reason that's there in the first place is, and we should probably talk to a psychologist about this if people are interested about it. Like, these things happen before they were able to stop them. You know, these beliefs that people get about themselves being a victim. That's not their fault that it's there in the first place. But what you do with that is your responsibility.
Yeah.
But the fact that people have victim mentalities comes really from, most of the time at least, from when they were too young to understand what the hell was going on.
Right.
Came from their parents, came from their caregivers, brothers, sisters, whatever. However they were raised when they were young.
Right.
You know, so they didn't really have much of a choice about it being there in the first place, but it doesn't have to stay there. You know?
Yeah. And I like that you make that point, because I think that is where a part of my problem with the societal calling everything bully is, you're kind of catering or kowtowing to whatever family dynamic that has this person feeling victimized by society, not saying, hey, like, okay, you're no longer a part of that family. You're grown, you're adult, you're out of the family. Yeah. You are now a part of this bigger thing. You're free from your family, but by reinforcing that idea of no, you're being bullied. No, you're right. You are a victim. Yeah. It makes it harder for the person to break out of
you're
that family dynamic.
It in place. You think you're doing them a favor, but you're actually kind of keeping that in place by cuddling them so much.
Yes, I agree. This, I think, should go on our list of things to come back to.
Yeah,
and look further into.
Yeah, it's a really interesting subject.
Yeah, I'll see about if there's someone we can get a psychologist or a therapist or something on, and go a little bit further into that.
Yeah, that'd be dope.
What was the fight that I assume you saw the Gustafsson versus Teixeira fight.
Yes.
What did you think of that fight?
Gustafsson versus Teixeira. I think that was one of the best fights of the year.
Yeah.
I think that was one of the best fights of the year. And the fact that it was the heavyweight, the fact that it was in that weight class was great, because that was getting very boring, that weight class. And to see two guys, especially Teixeira, man, his last fight was Johnson.
Yeah.
Okay, so he came back from a real bad knockout, and he got knocked out again.
Yeah.
And you could say that was a bad knockout too, but it was the 5th round, and he took a big beating, and he gave back. You know, it was a respectable loss. I thought it was a respectable loss. He got hit with that same uppercut like 150 times.
He did. He
But
did.
I thought it was a respectable loss and an exciting fight. It's not that common to see these fights still where you get a great display of martial arts and there's a lot of back and forth, and then at the same time you get a stunning finish.
Yeah.
A great finish. So I think Teixeira was respectable. Gustafsson was
He looked very sharp. He looked very sharp.
Yeah, very sharp. Like really on the money. You saw him running away a little bit from Teixeira, but it wasn't running away because he was being a pussy. He was running away because he wanted to get back into
center.
into play his game, and I thought that was really cool. It was an exciting fight. I liked it.
Yeah, I like Daniel Cormier. I really do. And I like that he's champ.
Yeah.
And part of me would want him to beat Jones upon Jones. He's light heavy.
That was a heavy fight though, right?
No, it was light heavyweight.
Gustafson was light heavyweight.
Yep.
Oh, my bad. Okay,
It's
sorry.
cool.
Okay.
I would like to see Cormier get that win over Jones before he ends his career, because he's getting older. He's not going to be doing. I don't think he's going to be doing this too much longer.
DC?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But another part of me wants Jones to beat him, so that we can have Gustafson versus Jones part 2 for the belt.
You know what? Gustafson Jones was. I think if Jones was honest with you, he would say that was the first fight I had where I was like, man, this guy can beat me.
Yeah.
He lost his invincibility in that fight. It was almost like the Diaz McGregor thing.
Yeah.
Except he didn't lose. He managed to pull it out unfairly, because the 5th round was he had the gas. He had the gas and Gustafson didn't, and he pulled off that 5th round. But until that round, I thought it was heavily in Gustafson's favor. He was banging him about. His boxing was too sharp. He nullified Jones's huge reach advantage.
Yeah.
And it was interesting to see a guy who had equal skills and equal stature against Jones. You saw that
really flustered him.
Yeah.
Similar to what we saw with Ovin St. Preux. Again, a tall guy fighting against Jones. He didn't have as much of a reach advantage, and you saw Jones not.
That was kind of a stalemate, that fight, right?
Yeah, Jones won it.
Yeah.
But he didn't look like his usual self.
Yeah.
Now, part of that could have been ring rust. Part of that could have been, you've been doing this big powerlifting thing, and it's a bunch of things that could have gone into that. But there does seem to be a pattern where when Jones doesn't have the amount of reach advantage that he's used to having, he doesn't perform as well.
Yeah.
And Gustafson was, I think, the first person to really highlight that. Some people argue, Gustafson won that if you go by points. Like if you go by amount of times hit and all of that.
I'm so partial, and this is why I shouldn't be a judge. I'm so partial to the 5th round though. Whenever I remember a fight, a back and forth fight where I thought, there's not a clear winner, I look at the 5th round.
Yeah.
Because it's just that's where you finish the fight. That's where we
right.
It, so.
We can be tied through the whole fight, but if at the end, it's kind of who looks like they're about to be knocked out.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Although to be fair, I don't think Jones was actually about to. I don't think Gustafson was ever in danger of actually being finished. But he just faded away in that last round. He was just too tired. He shot his wad, and Jones came back strong. So
he did.
But point being, there was no real clear winner in that fight, and I think if Gustafson on a good day and Jones is on a bad day, then it could be a very bad day for Jones.
Well, remember, Jones took that fight after it was a week or a weekend of coking out and just complete partying. He didn't train very much.
Or the same
Gustafson.
Oh,
said he barely, if at all, trained for that fight.
Interesting.
He was coking out.
But that's his problem.
Yeah, it is.
That's his problem.
That's
part of the fight. You want to. To me, that shows mental weakness. If you're not willing to get in the gym and you're willing to, and you want to do drugs and get high, that is mental weakness to me.
Mm-hmm.
You're not able to maintain intensity, and it's almost kind of a little bit like maybe you have a little excuse for losing.
Well, he said that he actually had. Did you see the interview he did with Joe Rogan on Joe Rogan's podcast?
No, dude, it's too long, man. It's 3 hours.
Well, he was on Joe Rogan's podcast, and that was one of the things that he said is before every fight, he goes out and he like has these party binges so that if he loses, he can like, well, it wasn't really me who lost. It was, you know, the side effects of me partying.
Up to it, because that's the type of stuff that people do, and it's good that he and fighters do it all the time, and it's good that he was just honest about it. You know,
if we get a Gustafson Bones Part 2, who you got on that?
I mean, the odds are always going to be on Jones, so I would always put on Gustafson. I like to go against when I can't really tell who's going to win, I always go on the underdog. But I don't bet that much, so I guess that's probably why.
Yeah.
But
I mean, like, figuratively, essentially, who do you think will win?
Right. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, it's hard to say. I don't like how Jones looked in his last outing. Like, he did not look like the Jones that we know when he fought St. Preux. I think if we get that Jones back,
was that his last fight, St. Preux?
Mm-hmm. That was his last one. If that's the Jones that we get back, Cormier might beat him.
What was his best performance, Jones? How far back do you go to see when he was really like hot shit?
You know, that's hard for me to pick where he looked more dominant, or like
taking into consideration the opponent.
Personally, like I was like, for me to say somebody's best performance, their opponent has to like be giving them problems.
So like the Shogun fight, you can't say that was his best performance. Shogun wasn't even there.
Shogun, Rampage, Machida, those fights actually Machida gave him a little bit of trouble. But
how do you finish that one?
He standing guillotine. No, standing guillotine.
Yeah,
on
but
Machida.
before that he cut him, didn't he?
I don't remember that. I just remember the ending. I remember that Machida landed a couple shots, was giving him some problems a bit, and then Jones caught him up against the fence and standing guillotined him.
Yeah.
But in order to like say this is this person's best fight, like I like to see the back and forth so you can see like the person has to dig deep and you know. So I would say,
but again, like if you go based on if you don't allow someone into the fight, then that's great fighting, no?
It is, but then how much of that is
the other guy?
How much of that is just a mismatch?
That's
you know, it could be.
Like I agree with you. Like the Shogun was completely dominant when he took the title for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
It was completely dominant, but Shogun wasn't even there, so I can't say that's his best fight. But there are fights that he destroyed people just because he was that good. Honestly, like when he was fighting guys like Stefan Bonner, he was amazing just because of the sheer dexterity of attacks. The weapons in his arsenal was crazy. I don't think anyone's seen that. Like a young dude throwing spinning back elbows, suplexing. Who the fuck suplexes? Still to this day, he suplexes people. And he was a heavyweight. He literally picked Stefan Bonner out from behind and dumped him on the back of his head. That's true. But I think over time, Jones has not gotten better.
I don't know about that. I think as of late, I would agree.
Yeah.
I think Jones throughout his career, he's kind of been on an upward momentum, and then once shit started getting wonky and he started like fucking up, that kind of intervened.
Yeah. I think he preferred, like many guys, he preferred the thrill of the chase.
Yeah.
Than being champion.
That's true.
And it's a heavy crown, man. Being champion is a heavy load. I understand it. There's a big difference between defending your title and going after the title. And you see it with a lot of guys, and just in life in general, just male psychology. It seems to be like, you know, it's like when you're trying to chase a chick, like you love her so much until she's yours.
Right. Well, that's a thing. I forgot what they called it, but basically they did a study where like they would have people plan a party, let's say, or plan a trip or whatever the thing that they're trying to do, and it was the pursuit of the event that brought them happiness.
Yeah.
And once the event was there or had just finished, like a mild depression set in of like, oh, well, now I got it.
Yeah.
Well, what do I do now?
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. So I could see that. I could see where there could be some of that within the being champion and kind of maintaining that, as well as the pressure of holding that position.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think if we get the old Jones back, I'm 50-50 on him versus Gustafson.
Yeah.
If we get the Jones that fought St. Preux, I'm gonna put my money on Gustafson.
Okay. Nice.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Nice.
I think there was something else I mentioned. I think we did
the
bullying. No, I think that's everything. Bullying.
Well, what do you think about the Gustafson fight with Teixeira? Like what?
I thought Gustafson looked really sharp. I think Teixeira didn't really have a solid answer.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that he did not have any answer for the uppercuts.
His corner should have, I think, maybe sorted that. I mean, ultimately he has to do it himself, but he got hit with that shot. I've never seen someone get hit with one shot so much. When it's a hard shot to land as well, a rear uppercut is not an easy shot to land by any stretch of the imagination. Yeah. You do not see it landed that much, which might have worked in Gustafson's favour, because who prepares for someone who's going to repeatedly throw a quick rear uppercut, you know?
That's true, and I think also
he did get knocked out by Johnson with a rear uppercut, though.
Did he? Yeah, you're right. You're right. That's right. That was what finished him with Johnson.
But that was a different beast of an uppercut.
Yeah, yeah, it was one of those and done. Yeah. It was no 150 of those.
Yeah, he got
what's it called? I know Teixeira tends to come in with that, head forward posture, and he ducks his chin down when he's defending, so it kind of leaves him a little bit susceptible to that.
Yeah.
But I really, really thought at some point throughout that fight, him or his corner would have made some modifications and adjustments to get around that. Yeah. There was something else I wanted to bring up, and I look forward to this and seeing how this plays out. So California is making some changes to the rules surrounding weight cutting.
That was it, yeah.
I'm loading the page right now, and I'm just going to read from the page. This is on MMA Junkie, and so I'm going to go from here by the MMA Junkie staff, it says. So, good job to you guys. California approves 10-point weight cutting plan with big changes. The California State Athletic Commission has taken its most aggressive measure to date against extreme weight cutting. Today, passing a 10-point plan to curb the practice while protecting fighters. Now formalized in the Commission's rules are a steeper fine for missing weight, a 10% cap on weight a fighter is allowed to gain in the time between weigh-ins and event, and weight class restrictions for those who miss weight more than once. The Commission also recognizes 4 new weight divisions: 165, 175, 195, and 205 pounds. That CSAC Executive Director Andy Foster plans to present for approval at the Association of Boxing Commission annual meeting this summer. The 10-point plan, first proposed in March, was unanimously approved by a vote of 6-0 during a meeting today in Los Angeles. Foster, who authored the plan and serves as the chair of the ABC's medical committee, will begin implementing the changes on June 15th in advance of UFC 214, which takes place July 29th at Honda Center in Anaheim. Today's vote formalizes changes to the CSAC's duties that have been in the works since Foster made weight cutting a priority with the commission. In March, the financial penalty for missing weight was increased when the commission enacted a rule that allowed it to fine a license. That allowed it to fine a license 20% of both the show and win purse for missing weight, with the win fine going solely to the licensee's opponent. Early in 2016, the commission banned the use of IV rehydration and required pre-fight hydration checks. Prior to today's meetings, the UFC, Bellator, and Invicta FC all endorsed the changes in letters to the commission. This is in quotes here. This is what we came up with over the several years to properly address this issue, Foster said today before presenting the plan and screening a pair of documentaries that illustrate the dangers involved with weight cutting. The 10-point plan, which can be seen here, includes 1. requesting MMA fighters to select the lowest weight class in which to compete, and asking questions about weight cutting and dehydration to take into consideration prior to approving fights. The listed division must be declared safe by a physician on a licensee's paperwork. 2. A contestant who fails to make weight is fined 20% of his or her show money, with 10% going to the commission and 10% going to the opponent, in addition to a 20% fine of the contestant's win bonus, with all of the money going to the opponent. 3. 4 additional weight classes, 165, 175, 195, and 205, to give athletes more choices. 4. Policy changes to the way matches are approved, with an emphasis on appropriate weight class. 5. Weight class restriction for fighters who miss weight more than once. Those fighters may be required to compete in a higher weight class until a physician certifies it's appropriate and the commission approves. 6. Continued early weigh-in procedure to allow fighters the maximum amount of time to rehydrate. 7. A second weight check on the day of the event to ensure that fighters haven't gained back more than 10% of their body weight. Fighters who gain an excessive weight may be asked to move to a higher weight class. 8. Check for dehydration by specific urine gravity and or a physical by CSAC physicians. 9. A recommendation of a 30-day and 10-day weight check for high-level title fights, similar to those done by WBC in boxing matches. 10. Examination and education for matchmakers, promoters, trainers, and athletes on offering and accepting and contracting bouts. For more on the upcoming MMA schedule, check out the MMA Rumors section of the site. Bam. So what do you think about that?
I like it all except for multiple weight classes.
You and Dana White agree.
No, Dana White agrees.
Dana White responded, was like, I'm down, I like it, it sounds good, I'm not digging the weight classes though.
I guess for non-title fights, maybe they just do it and then they figure it out. You just can't have a championship it's a non-championship weight class. But you can't have two. Oh, fuck it. You know what? There's one thing I did want to bring up now that we're on it.
Okay.
And this is a larger thing. We can get back to weight cutting specifically. Aldo versus Holloway, champion versus champion.
Oh yes, you texted me about that.
So many champions. Everyone is getting a championship now.
Yeah.
How can they both be? How can either of them, let alone both of them, be champion? A. And B. That ties into the increased weight class. I think that can destroy the sport. Honestly,
I agree with you. I'll say this: I would rather there be champions for more weight classes
than just five champions
in the same weight class. Both of them I don't like, but out of the two, multiple weight classes with different champions sounds better than champion and interim champion and the interims champion and the interims cubes champion, and like that I'm not digging. But Bellator is gonna start looking real nice pretty soon. Man. You know what's his name? Big Belly. Big Belly in the beard looks like a hillbilly Santa Claus. I can't think of his name right now.
What is his name? They know who it is.
Brain fart moment.
With the mohawk. Oh, not the mohawk.
The mullet.
The mullet. You missed the mullet, man. You know who he is.
Yeah, he's getting signed to Roy Nelson. Roy Big Country Nelson. He just got signed to Bellator. Okay. They got Rory McDonald. They got what's his name? The black and Korean dude got kicked by Pettis, the off the wall kick. Benson Henderson.
Oh, Benson Henderson.
Their rosters starting to look kind of nice, man.
Who has Venom?
Bellator. Wait, Venom or MVP?
Yeah, Michael Venom Page.
Yeah, you're right.
He, and I'm not just saying this because he's an Englishman, but he is the type of fighter that Bellator need. Yeah. Because no matter how good these fighters are, they're on the tail end of their career. Maybe someone like Rory McDonald can have a resurgence. Venom is
on the way up.
is another beast entirely, and he's moving the sport forward. He's a type of fighter that moves the sport forward. You know, he's a new breed of fighter, and that's where Bellator should be putting their eggs.
True. Now
unless you just want to be the retirement. He's a personality too.
Yeah.
You know, he's different. He's from English. There's not that many English fighters around. He not him just specifically, but that type of guy, right? Or girl, whatever. That type of guy is what they need to do if they want to position themselves as a rival to UFC. Otherwise, they'll just be a Legends division or a retirement home, or which is cool. Listen, everyone, I'm down to watch like who the fuck is Vitor, those type of dudes. I love Vitor, you know, and I'm down to watch him again. But I'm not going to pay for it. They're not going to pay for the pay-per-view to watch Vitor fighting, you know, Wanderlei or whatever.
All right.
No. I'm going to pay $80 to watch that fight. And no one else is either. No one's going to go to the bar to watch it. I'm going to get on Pirate. You know? I don't know what channel of Bellator is even on. Is it pay-per-view?
I don't know.
Yeah. Whatever.
They have started doing pay-per-view, but that's recent. They like one or two events ago they started doing it. Yeah. But it's pretty recent.
Yeah. They have to find their niche. I mean, maybe they know what they're doing. Maybe they want to position themselves in that regard. But then they're not going to keep fighters like Michael Page. You're not going to keep that guy. He wants to fight. He wants to get paid, and he wants to fight the best. What is he, welterweight?
Yes.
He wants to fight the best welterweights out there, you know?
I think if the UFC keeps going down the path it's going, it's not only an issue of Bellator rising up, but also the UFC declining.
Yeah, I agree.
I think at some point, if it continues in that fashion, they may intercept.
Because they're riding on a few big names right now, and not only that, but just their bargaining power. Someone like Conor McGregor can do what he wants with the UFC right now.
Yeah,
he can, and he is. He's running riot because there's no other. They don't have that many other personalities like him, and they're kind of every other weight class is. A lot of weight classes are kind of a joke now with this champion versus champion, and like, you know, like just the kind of circus, the way they're running it like a circus is kind of.
It's not good.
It's not good.
It's not good
for business.
With the weight cutting thing, I like the 10% body weight thing. That's interesting. So, for example, if you're weighing in at 200, let's say you weigh in at 200, you can't gain more than 20 pounds back over the next day when you come to fight.
Can you think of any specific fights that would like nullify where like someone's just bigger and stronger than the other?
All of Anthony Rumble Johnson's fights before he came up to light heavy.
Although he did better at light heavy, so
and that was closer to his natural weight. He was cutting massive amounts of weight.
In a funny way, it worked in reverse because I think a lot of people, what people think is that is good to stop people from basically just being much bigger than their opponent and just beating them up because they're bigger. But with some guys, they actually get better when you stop them from being underweight.
Yeah. Well, I think the concern with the Athletic Commission is less on whether it's fair competitively and more what it does to the health of the fighter. So the increased risk of concussion, how it works on the endocrine system and the organs and all of that. I think that's the bigger worry. Who else would drop a bunch of weight? Tyron Woodley.
I was literally thinking of Tyron Woodley.
Tyron Woodley.
He's big boy for that 170.
Yeah, he is. What's his name? With the beard. Big Rig. He was champ. Fought.
Everyone's champ. I don't know that.
He just moved up to 185. Johnny Hendricks.
Oh, yeah.
Johnny Hendricks was cutting a lot of weight.
Yeah, I heard.
Gustafsson.
He doesn't look like he cut. Yeah, Gustafson's a different story, but Hendricks didn't look like he cut that much weight. He was interesting because usually it's the ripped dudes because muscle holds a lot of water, so it's kind of easier to cut when you're like really, really lean. And it's interesting. You never really know. You never really know what these people are. And it's good that they're checking on the day. Yeah, you know, just so that we now know, like, this is fair. These guys are around about the same weight.
I think I would like them to do this minus the weight cuts. See how I'm sorry, not weight cuts. Minus the extra divisions.
Yeah.
See how it plays out.
Yeah, I don't think they needed to do all of that at the same time.
Yeah.
That's 10 points is a lot of points. I think they needed maybe 1 or 2.
Yeah.
Conor was another one. Conor was another one who was at 145. No one really knew if he was that good because he was just so much bigger and stronger than everyone.
That's true.
Like Aldo was really a midget next to him. If you really look at them next to each other and then his reach and stuff, you didn't really know how good he was until he came into the lightweight division.
Speaking of Aldo and reach, real quick before we wrap things up, who do you have on Holloway versus Aldo?
Champion versus champion.
Yes, which champion remains champion?
I think the champion remains champion. I'm going to say Holloway because he's on a 20-fight win streak and I don't know where Aldo is, but it's going to be a very good fight because Aldo's last fight was pretty good.
I concur. I agree with you. I don't have a good thought out explanation. I just have a hunch that Holloway's going to win this.
He's going to pip it. He's on fire right now. He's so
really
aggressive and he's I wouldn't say unbeatable. He takes shots, but momentum's such a motherfucker,
That is the truth, brother. Yeah. That said,
all right,
let's go ahead and wrap this up. Thank you, everybody, for listening.
Thank you.
Please subscribe, comment, like, share, all that good stuff, and we will see you next time.
Peace.